What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Roger Waters, and we're returning to the pros and cons of Hitchhiking 1984. Big thanks once again to Cindy, both for providing this and the patience, and I now have it framed in my head that this album takes place over a certain allotment of time. It seems like from beginning to end it's roughly a 40-minute span. And given that the narrative already feels larger than life with some pretty crazy and dynamic elements, I imagine this is something where it'll be about this sonic experience, the vocal experience, and then perhaps over time I'll be able to, likely with help from people commenting, Cindy and others, stitch together the narrative, which, as I said, seems, if not overtly supernatural, surely cinematic and, as I said, larger than life. I will say the next tune, which takes place a couple minutes after the first two tracks, is quite incredibly Arabs with Knives and West German Skies. So obviously both phrases there are very specific and visual, of course, as to how they might relate to the quite charismatic and incredible narrative we've already heard within this almost surrealist type of story. I'll have to see what I can catch in the moment and also, again, after the fact as people comment about it. But yes, there are two elements which seem at once cinematic in terms of the skies, but also kinetic and maybe dangerous with the first part of the phrase, so I really don't know what to make of it. Let's give it a listen. This is Roger Waters from the Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking 1984, the track Arabs with Knives and West German Skies.
Sleep, sleep, I know that I'm only dreaming. Through closed eyes, I see West German skies on the ceiling. And I wanna get back to the girl with the rucksack, to feel her flaxen hair. I wanna be there. See the sun going down behind the Krupski works on the outskirts of some German town. I think we'll just say goodnight. Good night. Can I have the keys to 143, please? Thank you. Good night.
So insane. Okay, so I'll start sonically. There's both a more, or multiple more musical sections of the track, but especially in the beginning there was a very sonic storytelling with, people's shouted voices and seemingly with German accents. And indeed, I'm wondering now, and I forget in the moment if this was made clear when I reacted to the first two tunes, but it feels like we're in the West German countryside and then at a hotel specifically, and I think we hear an Englishman asking for his room key and maybe ordering room service breakfast for the next morning. But also the shouting sounds very clamorous, so maybe that has to do with Arabs with Knives. But yes, talking about wanting to get back to the girl in the woods, so seemingly a direct continuation of the first part of the album, and then talking quite literally about the West German sky and the woods. And so, again, it's setting a scene, but it sounds like, if he's seeing the sky through closed eyes and it's almost like a dream, there really is a surrealist element to it. But I love that bluesy guitar in the latter stages. We had just a tiny bit of a saxophone flourish. And then, I don't know if those were like strings in the backing, but there was a very ambient quality behind the action at the front of the tune. And his vocals, again, like sort of in that guitar poet telling us a story type of idiom, but mixed with that sudden interjection of a sonic, almost like a stage play type of feel. So just a really crazy tune, lyrically, sonically, vocally. So I imagine the whole album is just going to be this trip. So ultimately, I'm enjoying it as crazy as it is. So thank you once again to Cindy. Shout out to those. There were a few people who commented on the first couple songs, single reaction. And I remember there was someone who said it's kind of a crazy introduction to Roger Waters, but hey, that's, ultimately there's a number of deep dives where I haven't started with their first solo work or their first album, if it's a band, and I've sort of jumped into the middle. Fleetwood Mac would be a great example. So yeah, we'll just keep going through this as crazy as it is, and we'll enjoy the experience. Let me know what you think of this one. I will see you next time. Peace.